Okay, let's see. I think we are recording now, right? Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the slides that I've prepared there. They've been shared, by the way, to they've been shared to uh, that class materials folder. So look through this comic. I find it humorous, but I'm also the instructor of this course, so that's probably why I find it humorous. But basically, as you will see when we cover through these slides, everything that we've covered so far in this course is an opportunity for me to ask a question on this exam, on this. Okay. All right. So what's the midterm going to be like? Good question. All right. So it's going to be next Friday during this class time. I've gotten word that the time that I can make the exam is up to like 100 minutes, so I'm up to a little more than an hour and a half. So expect that I will want to start. I want to get as possible for this exam. So expect that we will probably start somewhere like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. What I'll do is I will post. It'll be a form. It'll be a Microsoft form similar to a Google form that we've done before in these courses. But it'll be a Microsoft form. You will be given it'll be given listed as an assignment on this team. So be on this team at this time, and it will be announced. I will make sure to give you an exact announcement of an exact start time and end time sometime at the beginning of next week, so you can know exactly when this will be available. The way the system works is that when the end time comes, it won't allow you to submit. Okay, so if let's say the exam is scheduled for 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, as an example. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying let's suppose. Let's say the end time is 12 o'clock. If you try to submit at 12:01, the system won't allow you to do it. Okay, so what we'll probably do is I think I was told that could be 100 minutes. So what I would do is I would say, okay, start it at 10 o'clock. The official end time is 11:40. We'll set it to not allow any more submissions at 11:50 or something like that, to make sure that you have that opportunity to fill in. But if you don't submit it on time, it won't be accepted, and we won't have an exam for you. Okay. So I know that if we were giving these exams in person as a written exam, that what we would be able to do is, give you a few extra minutes and all of that. We won't be able to do that in this current environment. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. So the exam will be 100 points. It represents 30% of your final grade. So that according to the syllabus. So just keep that in mind. This is not a minor thing. Okay. Everything we've discussed so far in lecture will be possible topics for the exam. Okay, it's a lot, right? But I just want to make sure you kind of have a good bird's eye view, a good general understanding of each of these topics. So I will ask questions that show me that you have a good understanding of these topics. All right. So format. Now, all of this is, there's an example exam that I will pull up and I will go over with you guys in just a moment. But there'll be some short answer questions. This is a third year class. We're not interested in giving a bunch of simple multiple choice, true. You need to be able to explain how things work. Okay, so you'll need to be able to define important terms. You'll be able to need to give examples. If I say, give me an example of, can't think of anything right off the top of my head. We'll look at an example exam here in a moment. All right, know what specific commands do. If I say, okay, I want to switch into the root user, how can I do that? If I want to see, this past thing we talked about today, if I wanted to see all the active connections available, how can I do that? So you need to be able to know how to do those things. You need to know how to perform tasks using commands. If I were to say, I want to add a new IP address for my static EMPS0 EMP0S3. If I wanted to add that an IP address for that connection, how could I do that? And I would need you, and I might ask you to know both ways of how to do that. Okay, because there's two different ways, right? We can either append to the configuration file using that echo command, echo and append, or we could use the nmcli command to be able to add an IP address. Okay. And then there'll be a long answer questions, almost like paragraph type essay type question. Okay, that you'll need to explain important concepts of things. Okay. I just forget this. All right, this isn't really. Can't really do this. I can't make you turn off your computer. You're going to be taking this on Microsoft Forms. So this set of slides I've had to modify from previous year. So we'll just forget that. All right. Let me go ahead and pull up the example exam from the folder I have for you guys. Okay. Let's see here. All right. All right, so this was the exam from the midterm exam from last year. Now, one thing you'll note is this exam does not include logs and networking. And the reason why is because we had this midterm at an earlier point in the semester last year. Okay, so just some examples. This would be define or explain the following terms. By the way, when I say I want you to define or explain the following terms, that means in your own words. If you copy a definition from the text and you put that in here, then you won't get any points for this. All right, I want to know what you understand about what these different things are. Okay, so a primary group is the one group that the user is a part of that belongs to. When we first create a user, it has the same name as the user. So it's the one group that this user is part of. Supplementary group, 0 or more other groups that the user could also be a part of. What's a shell? What's a terminal? What's Vim, UMask? What's a process? What's a parent and a child process? Okay, because there's a general definition for process, then there's also parent and child. Okay. All right. We want to create files in a certain format. What command could we use to be able to do that? Let's see. I want to create these directories. I want to create these files. And really, when I say create a total of 48 files with this, what I'm wanting to see especially is, do you know how to use that format using the curly braces that we talked about, where you can create a lot of different files with the same name, with a format being similar. We're using the curly braces. Okay, that's what that question would have been testing. The three main channels. Okay, was the channel 0, 1, and 2, standard in, standard out, and the standard error channel. Okay, the different redirection operators, right? Using that pipe, using the greater than symbol. How does a pipeline operate? So you can explain that. What does the T command do so that it both takes the output and puts it to the screen and to the standard out, and also sends it to another command. Okay. All right. Give an example that uses redirection or a pipeline and explain what is happening. So I really want you to be able to not just give an example, but also understand what's happening in that example. This looks very familiar. I'm assuming this should look very familiar to the homework assignment. Right? A list of users and their groups, and basically asking, who can see certain files. Remember, user level privileges given first. So what that means is that even though, so Tony Stark, even though Tony Stark, let's say Tony Stark is part of the Avengers group. I'm assuming you guys know that Tony Stark was in the Avengers, right, before he passed away. Oh, hopefully that didn't spoil anything for you guys who haven't seen the most recent Avengers films. Sorry if I did. Okay. Hopefully you know that Tony Stark is part of the Avengers group, but even let's say I would say that. All right. So even though the Avengers anybody in the Avengers group can read the file Stark Tower, Tony Stark actually can't read the file Stark Tower. All right? Tony Stark can write to the file, he can execute the file, but he cannot read from the file. Because why? His privileges are based on him being the user that owns the file. Anyone else that's part of the Avengers group, so Thor, Hulk, that's it in this list. So even though those guys can read the file, Tony Stark cannot. Okay, so remember, this one given first, this one, if you're not this guy, if you're in the group, you get these permissions. If you're not in the group and you're not the user owner, then you get these permissions. Okay? All right. So how would you create these users? I would need you to write the commands to be able to create 2 of the users listed here, and 2 of the groups, and to assign the users to their groups. So you could write the command, user add to be able to add Thor, for example. Group add to be able to add Asgard as a group. Okay. All right. Again, list the users that can view the contents of, and I'll try to make sure this is worded well, right? Because the question on this one is, did you know that Tony Stark cannot read the file Stark Tower? Which seems silly, but it's how it's set up. Okay. The users that can edit the file evil plans, meaning they can write to it. Okay, well, let's see. Evil plans here. Okay. Well, Loki can. Anyone in the villains group can, but no one else can. That makes sense. You don't want the good guys being able to, change the villains' plans, right? Okay. How would we change the permissions to allow? So we're going to modify this file, evil plans, to be able to execute. Right? There's multiple ways we could do this. So I might ask you for, what different possibilities. One, using that, 0 through 7 format for adding permissions. One could be using the plus execute, right? Okay, now this one's an interesting one. List the users that can delete the file evil plans. So who can delete files in a directory? It's anyone who has write access to the directory. So can Hulk delete the evil plans file? Yes, he can. Can anyone in the Avengers group delete the evil plans file? Yes, they can. Can anyone else besides Hulk and in the Avengers? No. So even though Hulk even though they are unable to edit the file evil plans, they can still delete it. Okay, that may seem strange, but it is how this works. Okay, so it makes sense, right? You know, Hulk and the Avengers, they can't change the plans, they can just get rid of them, right? They can just stop the evil plans entirely, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Okay. How can we view current processes running? What commands can we run? All right. What happens to a parent process when a child is executing? Okay, it's paused, right? It stops executing and waits. It's in a wait state. What happens to a child process? Well, it turns into a zombie, right? What is the term used to describe? It becomes a zombie process. Now, what's the first thing a parent process does upon having control returned? What I'm wanting you to know here is that the parent process has to clean up the child, right? That the child doesn't clean itself up. Right? What process state will not be seen in process listing utilities and why? Okay. The zombie process, right? Okay. Anyway, all right. So that covers that. That covers that example exam. Are there any questions that you guys would like to go through, talk about before we end this call? Before we end this discussion? Sure.
Can you? I have a couple of questions. I think I want to just confirm the can we open our notes in the exam as a cheat sheet?
Yeah, you can have access to your notes.
Okay. Are we gonna to open our cameras in exam?
I'm not sure about that because there's a policy I think the university is making regarding that. So as soon as I find out, I will let you know.
Okay. One more question. Can we solve these questions on Word, or how can we do this on the exam? Word or on the paper?
Right, it's going to be a Microsoft form. I'm assuming you've had quizzes and other courses this semester that have used the Microsoft forms.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the way that we're being told we have to do the exam is through Microsoft forms.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Sure. Anybody else? All right. Well, if you have any questions during the next few days, let me know. If you need anything answered specifically before the exam, make sure you contact me before Thursday. If you contact me Thursday about the exam on Friday, there is a possibility, a strong possibility, I will not be able to respond in time to get you an answer. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know, and good studying and prepare well, and we will see you next week at this time. All right.